A while back, I posted a video about the top 7 logical fallacies. Numerous people in the comments section said I could have included the straw man fallacy on that list. So that's what this video is about. This is probably more information than you wanted to know, but one of the reasons I didn't include that on the original list in that video is because some people call this the straw man fallacy. Some people call it the straw man argument, which I believe is more accurate. It doesn't usually appear on most of the lists of common formal logical fallacies. According to Wikipedia, the straw man argument is considered an informal fallacy, not a formal logical fallacy. If you want to find out more about that, then you can look at Wikipedia yourself. Just search for informal fallacies. But who cares about that right now? We're here to explain what it is. Somebody makes a straw man argument when they refute or argue against something different from what the other person actually said, did, argued, or stands for. They're not attacking the real thing. They're attacking a straw man, a scarecrow, an artificial thing, you could say. The key for you is to avoid using the straw man argument, and they're fairly easy to refute because all you have to do is point to what was actually said or argued, and that will cut the other person's point off at the knees. And the more you learn about fallacies and bad arguments, the more equipped you'll be to call them out when you hear them. For example, a speaker might argue against a straw man that they themselves have created by exaggerating the other person's original argument, oversimplifying what the other person has said, taking something out of context in a way that changes its meaning, or twisting or changing the other person's position or statements completely, and then arguing against that manufactured point. Here's a diagram of what it looks like. Speaker 1 argues in favor of position X. Speaker 2 then argues against position Z, one that they claim Speaker 1 supports that may sound a little bit related to position X, the original argument. Speaker 2 then falsely claims or implies they made a successful argument against position X. Politicians use this all the time. I saw an example of this the other day when a politician said, "There was a shooting and a young girl died and my opponent said, 'Have to get over it.'" Politician A used that statement, "have to get over it," to frame politician B as cold and heartless. This was a straw man argument because the speaker took one small phrase out of context in a way that changed its meaning completely. What the politician actually said to the families and the community was, "We love you, we pray for you, we ask God to comfort you and the whole state. It's horrible to see that happening. It's just horrible. It's so surprising to see here, but we have to get over it. We have to move forward." But to the relatives and all the people who are so devastated right now to the point where they can't breathe, they can't live, we are with you all the way. We love you and we cherish you. This is a classic straw man argument because politician A twisted the totality of politician B's position, as if the original message was dismissive on the whole. But politician B said a lot more that demonstrated the opposite and showed compassion. A speaker might use the straw man argument either because they are being dishonest or maybe they just misunderstand what the other person really said. Either way, they try to tear down the straw man and defeat it. At least for the moment, this may create the appearance that they have successfully refuted what the other person said, did, or argued. The problem, of course, is that all they've really done is argue against something that does not reflect reality. They've argued against a straw man. Here's another example. My teenage son does some version of this to me all the time. He sometimes asks suddenly for last-minute permission to do something. For example, go out with his friends to a late-night movie. Maybe I don't know these friends that well, however, and sometimes I'll say, "No, I don't think that's a good idea. It sounds fun, but maybe you could do it another time when I have more advance notice and when I know more about who you'll be going with." He often replies in situations like this by using a straw man argument. He might say, "You don't want me to have any fun in my life." Now, he's half joking when he says things like this, and he's a great guy, but I never said I didn't want him to have any fun. My justification for saying no was much more specific than that, and just by arguing against that one little straw man he created, he never really addressed my concerns about not having enough advance notice and not knowing the specific friends very well. By arguing against the straw man, he neglected to address my real concerns, my real argument. Here's another example, a paraphrase in this case. Most of the national political debates about healthcare in the US are behind us, so hopefully this example won't be too distracting. A former presidential candidate once said, There are some people who believe that the federal government ought to be the decider of healthcare choices for all people. The politician then argued against that position. The problem is it's very difficult to find any evidence of anybody arguing in favor of the government being the decider of healthcare choices for all people. That's an exaggerated point, a straw man. There are endless examples on both sides of the political spectrum. If you listen to almost any politician talk about the opposition, even for a minute, it's very likely you'll hear them creating straw men to argue against. Advertisers and marketers also use the straw man approach all the time to make their competition look bad by exaggerating shortcomings. There's a classic example that you may not remember. Wendy's had a series of commercials starring an older lady who was acting as if she was looking inside the competitors' burgers, like Burger King or McDonald's. The voiceover in the commercial said something like, "Some hamburger places give you a lot less beef on a lot of bun." And they showed this oversized hamburger bun with a little tiny burger patty on it. And in response, the little old lady asked,
"Where's the beef?"
The commercial then showed Wendy's burger patties, which were massive in comparison. It's almost guaranteed that if you're watching an ad that brings up competitors, they'll paint an inaccurate picture of what the competitors offer. Wendy's ad uses a straw man argument because no other burger places sell a product with a massive oversized bun like that on a tiny little patty. That is a fictionalized characterization. If you want to find out more about fallacies, you can watch my original video on the top 7 logical fallacies. There's tons of examples in that video to illustrate each one. And the point of this video is not just to explain the straw man argument. I'm hoping that you'll be able to now recognize it, see it, and call it out. Of course, you don't ever want to use the straw man argument because it'll undermine your credibility with listeners, so please stay away from it. Until next time, thanks, God bless, and I will see you soon.